Over the last couple of years, Apple has been making changes to the iPad to make it more than just a large screen iPhone. With Apple's latest iPadOS 17 update, Apple has made some much needed changes to the features that enable this iPad to match what the name Pro entails. So let's take a look at how the iPad handles being the main device on your desk. To take full advantage of our iPad-only desk setup, we're going to be using a feature called Stage Manager. Stage Manager allows you to extend your desktop to one external monitor. This can be done by either plugging in an external USB hub or dock, and then connecting a monitor by HDMI or DisplayPort. The second option is if you have a more recent monitor. The monitor may accept USB-C, which can then be plugged directly into the iPad. Most of the time, these monitors will also have USB ports on the back or side, which will allow you to connect a keyboard, mouse, or other peripherals. These are necessary when using Stage Manager on an external monitor, as touch input does not work, and there is no way to control the external monitor with only the iPad. For this particular desk setup, I am using a Thunderbolt dock. This dock in particular has all the connections in the back to connect a monitor, a mouse, a keyboard, and even an external camera. Yes, external camera support is now available in iPadOS 17. This makes it much nicer when using video calls on the iPad. The built-in camera on the iPad is in a horrendous spot, if you ask me, when sitting at a desk, and being able to plug in a USB webcam or even a full-frame camera over USB is a nice addition, and frankly should have been done a little bit sooner. But I am glad it's here. Not all video chat apps support the external webcams as of right now, but hopefully more will be added in the near future. The keyboard I am using for this setup is from ProtoArch, and the mouse I am using is the Logitech MX Master 2. The XK01 and the MX Master are able to connect to multiple devices using Bluetooth that easily allow you to switch between an iPad and a laptop at the push of a button if needed. I recently did a full review on the XK01, and I will leave a link to that down in the description. With all of that connected, we are now presented with our desktop. To make changes to the way our setup looks, we go into the new menu Apple has added in iOS 17, Multitasking and Gestures. Here we can choose whether we want to use Stage Manager or Split View, as well as change certain options like when to show the bottom dock and sidebar. I normally hide the sidebar as it takes up too much space when it's presented all the time. Another good change is to adjust the display zoom on the iPad screen. In the display and brightness menu, scroll all the way to the bottom, select display zoom, and be sure to choose more space, as this will make certain things a little bit smaller and give you back a little bit of space so you can fit more on your screen at one time. Once Stage Manager is enabled, you are able to open up to 4 apps per stage. To start, simply choose an app from your dock or home screen, open it up. A nice addition Apple made in iOS 17 was the ability to hold Shift while opening an app. This will open the app in the current stage rather than opening it on a brand new stage, or you can click and drag your app from either the dock or by searching for it in Spotlight. With the recent updates to Stage Manager, moving and sizing windows is a lot less awkward. You can move windows around more freely. This was something that was highly requested from the iPad community, and I am glad to see it. Whereas before, if a window went over top of another window, they would just snap back to a really awkward position and usually nowhere near where you wanted them to be. So finding that perfect layout was extremely difficult. Stage Manager as a whole just feels a lot more stable in this release. I am noticing a lot less app crashes and a lot less just weird things happening while working on the iPad. I really enjoy working on the iPad. Whether I'm writing a video script, planning future ideas, I feel more connected to the iPad and much less distracted. I edit on my gaming PC, and sometimes I forget to exit Steam, Epic Store, EA Play, all of those things. And before I start, I get a constant flow of notifications that friends are playing these games and those games. It just makes it hard to stay on task with all of those pop-ups. With the iPad, I can choose what gets through, all by just selecting a focus mode, and I don't get all of those pop-ups that cause me to lose focus. But with Stage Manager, I can have my task list open, Google Docs for my scripts, Notions for my ideas and progress, and usually Apple Music for some easy listening. And if I need to shift over to anything, I can swipe over with the trackpad or click on the other stages with my mouse. Earlier this year, we received some of Apple's first Pro apps for the iPad. While these were a great start, they did come up a little bit short to replace others like DaVinci in my apps of choosing. But other apps I do enjoy using on the iPad are Twitter and Instagram. These apps are better than their browser alternative and look great on an external display. Gaming on the iPad is something new to me. I am a PC gamer at heart, but with the iPhone and iPad now being able to play console-level games, why not dive into some of these games that are available? I have recently subscribed to Apple Arcade and picked up an 8-bit Do Ultimate controller, and have been playing some games that support controller as an input. I do wish more games supported controllers, but there are even some games that support keyboard and mouse, Minecraft being my favorite. But for some reason, gaming on the external monitor lacks full screen support. Not one game that I have played was able to expand to the full screen while using the external display. I feel like this is a big letdown, and something I hope Apple fixes in a future update. Now, there are some things that I came across in my time using the iPad that I was not a fan of. First, when using an external mouse, scrolling can be quite awkward. With the iPad being a touch-first device, natural scrolling is enabled, even when a mouse is connected. Now, you would think you can just turn that off no problem, but you'd be wrong. The problem is I also have the Magic Keyboard, which includes a trackpad, and disabling the option for natural scrolling includes both the mouse and the trackpad. So the constant need to go back and forth to enable and disable this feature is really quite bothersome, and should just have their own section for each device. Another issue is the Files app, and the problem is right in the name. This does not feel like a piece that is included in the OS. It feels like an app that Apple has created that almost acts like a reskin of the original feature. I know they made some changes to this recently, but I really don't understand how you could have such a great thing with the Finder on Mac and then include the Files app with the iPad. It just doesn't seem right to me. And unfortunately, the iPad still does not support clamshell mode. If your iPad is connected to an external display and you either close the case or turn off the iPad, the external monitor will turn off as well. I do wish Apple added an option for this if some of us would like to use it in this way. It would be nice to have the iPad closed off to the side, similar to the way I would sometimes connect my laptop. But we can hope for this, maybe an iPadOS 18 include this. And the final issue is just the fact that certain apps are not able to go full screen. And one of those apps, Apple's latest Pro editions in Final Cut Pro. DaVinci Resolve is the same way. When open on the iPad, full screen is no problem. But when transferred to an external display, all of a sudden the app can no longer be displayed in full screen. It will just snap back to the way that it was originally if you try to expand it full screen. LumaVusion, which has been on the App Store for ages, can go full screen. So it isn't the OS not allowing the app to do it. That, and along with the lack of color correction, I just couldn't continue my subscription of Final Cut Pro. If Apple corrects this, then I would love to give the app a second chance. But one of the best features of using the iPad as your main computer is it doubles as a writing tablet when using the iPad itself. So watching a video and taking notes is one of my favorite things to do on the iPad. It just feels like you are taking advantage of this pro device in all the ways possible. But unfortunately, this is only possible with an Apple Pencil-like accessory, and they can be quite expensive. But there are cheaper alternatives out there. I'll list some in the description below if you're interested. Now, the big question. Should you switch to an iPad from a laptop? No, I don't think the iPad is really meant for you to switch away from a laptop. The iPad is being molded into this device that can do multiple things quite well, and it really depends on what you need it to do. For myself, I have found a great use for my iPad. Pretty much everything I do before recording this video is done on my iPad. I plan my videos, I write my scripts, I write my ideas for the B-rolls and all the shots that I want to do, and cross off as I go. And that is all I need it for. It works better than a laptop, and therefore why I went for the iPad Pro in the first place, but your situation may differ. So buy what fits you best. If I happen to miss any features that you use your iPad for, be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you're still watching, be sure to hit that like button, as it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new. And here are 2 great videos that I recently posted. Go ahead and check one of them out right now, and I will see you in the next video.